Ah, back in the hospital. Same nurse? I was thinking in between last episode, well, okay, well, what? Who? Hang on, what? Dad? Papa?
When was the last time you ate? Have you had any lately?
I'm fine.
They look very present day. Apart from Chuck's eyebrows, is that what they added to him?
Come on, Chuck, let's go over to Novi's and stretch our legs, get some air, a couple hoagies.
You want to get a sandwich now?
How are you finding an issue with him being caring for you? Yeah, you know what I mean? Even in these moments, in the past, we have Jimmy actually taking the role of the older brother, almost. That is stereotypically the older brother's role of looking after their sibling. I mean, you know, look, baseline, all siblings should look after each other, right? But you get what I'm saying. And even in that moment, perfectly natural, normal thing to say, let's go, you've clearly been here a while, right? The only reason Jimmy's mentioning it is because he probably hasn't eaten. Jimmy knows that, despite what Chuck might be saying. And he's like, I want to look after you. Let's go stretch our legs, go eat something. And Chuck doing his normal thing, even here. That's always been the relationship. It seems like it's always been the relationship. Or at least, I don't know, up from a certain point.
Remember that time I accidentally invited Kathy and Cheryl to Mom's?
Right, a story, trying to take his mind off it. Again, empathy from Jimmy.
It was a fun night.
I just remember the whole family cleaning up after you.
Chuck coming in, souring it. This right here is an example of this funnel of Jimmy coming in, empathy, care for his brother, taking care of him, which we've seen, it's been consistent throughout the series. And then it funnels its way through Chuck and comes out the other end, right back at Jimmy in some kind of, leveled at him in some kind of toxicity, some kind of insult, some way to tear Jimmy down. And we're seeing it again and again and again here. The only reason Jimmy's doing this is to add a little levity to this situation, take Chuck's mind off it. It's futile, right? But he's trying. Chuck doing his thing, being like, what I remember actually about that is that you were a little bitch. It's like, dude, stop.
I just remember the whole family cleaning up after
And again,
you.
shows that lack of awareness from Chuck.
Mom will be okay for a few minutes. It's been 3 days. It could be 3 more.
Oh, it's Mum.
Jimmy, you want to eat? Go eat.
Okay, be right back.
God, that look of disapproval. Oh, bless him. Yeah, let it out, mate. Good. It's really sad that he feels like he has to hide that from his brother. Good. Vulnerability. But again, look, he hides it. He keeps it behind all of these barriers, right? It doesn't let anyone in. It's part of his problem. He's all alone, voluntarily. He's chosen that.
Mom?
And he shouldn't be.
Jimmy. No, Mom, it's me.
Oh, and of course he's going to take that. Right, this is where this jealousy from Jimmy comes from, because everyone wants to be around Jimmy. Right.
No, Mom.
This bitterness. Oh, yeah, this is a big pain point, big trigger point for him. Her last words. And he's gonna, he's gonna see that as like, I was the one that was here. I was the one that was here. Jimmy didn't. No, he went out. He went out. Not to mention the fact that Jimmy went out to actually, try and make sure Chuck doesn't starve, right? Actually trying to, bring him sustenance. It's not a bad thing, right? It's not a negative thing. Chuck has arrayed it negatively, but it's not.
So this is it then?
The way that he delivered that line. So this is it then? You can always see him putting those walls back up, right? He broke down for a moment. He let himself feel for a moment. And then that little moment at the end there where she says Jimmy's name and all that bitterness and angst and the unfairness that Chuck feels in regard to it all. And the way that it's souring him even more, I think, towards Jimmy. All of it, this sadness, this pain, right? Which he needs to be able to, like any human, process and talk to other people about and let people in, help and, But all of that pain and everything, it just sobers him right up. That vulnerability suddenly gone. And in this line here, right, you can see him, watching, steel himself.
So this is it then?
Yeah. Yeah, he's come to terms. He's not even letting her tell him. It's on his own terms, do you know what I mean? He's like, power. Power is such a big thing in this show, right? And it's like he needs it on his own terms. He's like, no, before it gets to me, before anyone can possibly get to me in a way that might hurt me. I'm like, no, I'll go first. Let me go first. Let me take that instead. Before she's even said anything, he's accepted and is like, so this is it then. That's him initiating the end, not her telling him, he's almost telling her. Do you know what I mean? And there's a subtle power thing there. Not in a I'm not trying to say like in a power crazy, power hungry way. I just think it's very integral for Chuck to have that power, right? Just so he doesn't break down. And it's that vulnerability that he is unable to process and manage that is actually manifesting itself in these ways that are unhealthy and problematic and dangerous to the people around him in the present and even here.
Is your brother in the building? We can use the intercom.
Dude, he would want to know. Are you kidding me?
Charles, Is there anyone you want us to call?
Right, alone, no one. That's it. And he doesn't consider Jimmy anything to him that would replace any of them. Do you know what I mean? Like, Jimmy's not that to him. I guess his mum then was the last one. And maybe this point is where Chuck really, really drives home this thing that he has for Jimmy. Look at that. What a horrible thing to do to your brother.
Hey.
Right? Jimmy has to like go through this panic and find out this way.
She's gone.
What?
This is so cruel, man. In the way that he did this. Chuck, again.
Did she wake up? Did she say anything?
He won't tell him. He'll never give him that.
No.
Yeah, of course. A moment here, you know, you're both suffering. I mean, if you ask Chuck, he's suffering more, right? And a selfless brother, if there was a selfless bone in his body, he would have soothed Jimmy there. He would have been like, yeah, she asked for you. Like, it's not your fault that you weren't here. You were trying to look after the both of us, get some food, make sure, you know, we were looked after, and because someone had to. And by the way, I'm not actually trying to kick Chuck by saying that. I'm not saying Chuck should be that person. My anger and frustration at that situation is the fact that Chuck is blaming Jimmy for that. Yeah, and in this moment he could offer a little bit of solace to Jimmy, and his choice not to do that speaks volumes. This relationship between them is so unhealthy. Hello and welcome to another Better Call Saul Sunday. That's right, this show that happens every single Sunday until we are finished with it, mate. Today, episode 10, the finale. It is called Klick, so we shall see how this season ends. Oh, that's right, it's a flamingo check. Let's ride. Ugh, wet. Yeah, this really starting to make me question, is Chuck gonna die? Ooh, big decisions from Jimmy here.
Call 911. Call 911!
Why did no one call it?
Yeah,
I can't believe that Jimmy... More and more I am seeing that Jimmy has been the one that's taken... I mean, obviously I've seen that, right? We started the season with seeing that he was taking care of Chuck, but like more and more, as much as like we have talked about Chuck taking care of Jimmy, and he has in his own way in certain ways, right? Well, I say that. The only reason I'm saying that is because he saved him from jail originally. Jimmy's primarily been taking care of him. And I think that first scene, honestly, was supposed to show us that. That was directly showing us that Jimmy actually has been taking care of Chuck for a long time. And Chuck, in his own mind, hasn't been able to recognize or see that. He ran in there, right? A selfless act, considering what we know. He could possibly get himself into trouble here. I was going to say, you can't go in, Jimmy. You can't. The selfish thing to do, the best thing for him to do to make sure that he is okay in this whole debacle would be to not go in. And the fact that he didn't hesitate, he just went because no one was acting. That combined with that first flashback scene is meant to directly show us that Jimmy has been the one that has been primarily taking care of Chuck.
Everything will be all right.
It's funny how that scene there with Jimmy over him being like, we're going to get you help, makes me, despite everything I've said, get back to that place of like, I really want these brothers to just get on. I want them to just put this to rest.
What's that, Charles?
You have to turn off the lights.
Oh, we can't do that right now, sweetie.
God.
Oh,
No, EKG. No, EKG.
oh God.
No, you don't understand. I have a condition.
No one listening to him. That's not ideal.
I did not give you my consent.
Right. I mean, I don't know though. If they've called an ambulance and, you know, they've got him in their care, is there a duty of care on their side that they have to make sure he's okay, right? So they have to do this? Does consent matter at this point? Because like my brain goes like, I feel like it should matter, but at the same time, they're just kind of doing their job. Are there any medical professionals that can like comment and let me know?
You need to cooperate with us. This is going to be very easy.
Oh, it's not.
A very simple CAT scan.
No, CAT scan.
Oh God, dude.
We got this.
Ooh, I nearly said at the beginning of this, is this gonna kill him? Or I can see a future in which Charles does die. Right, she's there. There she is. Well, at least we've got one doctor that respects the patient, eh?
Can't know for sure until we do those tests.
Right, so they didn't. Okay.
What he wants and what he needs are two very different things, Jimmy.
Right, we're back here again.
We don't know if his spine has been injured, if his brain is swelling, and he likely has a concussion.
Yeah, they need to look into these things. He took a really bad bump to the head.
Nothing has changed since the last time he was in here.
I'm not committing him.
Yeah. Even at this point in the show, with everything that's happened, Jimmy's still being like, no. Have respect for this man. We are not committing him. That is an incredible show of empathy from Jimmy, considering everything we know and we've seen and everything that's happened between them and everything that Chuck has done. And now, it's funny that we've got now in the show, the same thing repeated from last season. The one key difference being that Jimmy knows about everything. What does that show you? It shows you that that empathy is supreme in Jimmy for his brother. It doesn't matter what Chuck might have done on. All that matters is that his brother's okay. That tells you leaps and bounds and so much about Jimmy as a person.
What about a temporary emergency guardianship?
Yeah, I don't know what that entails.
He's in need of medical care so urgent that we can't wait around on court procedure. And then I take him home.
Right, so this means that he's going to have to get the scans, right? And this is kind of going against Chuck's will. Chuck ain't going to thank him for that.
Let me be the one to tell him.
Right, so this is the thing as well, right? And me here, sat here, the things that have happened to Chuck, I would be fearful of letting him go home without tests, scans, you know, like making sure his head's okay. That's got to be going through Jimmy's mind as well. But Chuck is only ever going to see this as Jimmy trying to get back at him or take him out of the picture or something else horrible, which Jimmy won't deserve. But this needs to get sorted. It's not getting better.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Well, if it isn't Johnny on the spot.
Dude, yeah, what do you expect? It's funny, actually. It's funny because look at this. As Jimmy comes in, we know why he delivers this line this way.
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Right. It's funny. We as the audience know that he's coming in and putting his best foot forward. He's coming in and trying to be like, hey, buddy, he's trying to be, it's forced casualness because of what he has to go and do and say and this conversation he's going to have. For a moment, put yourself in Chuck's mind and everything that Chuck is thinking and feeling about Jimmy, right? Let's not forget that he thought Jimmy specifically came over to his place, not to look after him, but to sabotage him and his case with Mesa Verde. He thought he came specifically to change the dates, right? And forge the papers. That's where Chuck's at. That's who Chuck thinks Jimmy is. With that in mind, listen and watch that line again. Doesn't it look cocky?
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
Look at that. Like, from Chuck's perspective, that sounds and looks cocky. Hey, buddy, how's it going? I've got you. You're down. You're on your back. You're weak. I win. It's so interesting how that line and the way that Bob delivered it, depending on the context, can be received different ways.
And how long was I lying on the floor before the ambulance arrived?
About 10 minutes, I think.
And yet you were there.
Oh, God, his brain going straight back to last episode.
Can we,
There's only one way. You could have gotten there so quickly. You never left.
Yeah, he's back on this and it's like, no, mate. You're in hospital right now. Jimmy is like fully in the hospital with his brother. Chuck is right back in that print shop, grilling Lance, trying to find out that his brother was there. And it's like, dude. That obsession that I was referencing last episode, right here.
You paid that half-wit to swear he'd never
Mr.
laid
McGill,
eyes expense?
I called him.
Oh, wow, Ernie coming in.
I called Jimmy earlier before I picked you up. He showed up when he did because
Ernie, what a gem.
I called him.
Bless him, and he can see the effect that this is having on Chuck and the way that it's consuming him. And he's like, no, you can't be there right now, dude. You're in hospital, you gotta be here. Bless Ernie.
I'm sorry.
Bless Ernie. You made the right call, dude.
Get out.
What can Jimmy do with this? Bless him. Because he wants to be here, he wants to look after his brother. What can he do? This relationship has soured too much. God, it's hard to think that we're still in season 2. Because it's season 2 of a 6-season run, and this relationship is already here. And I'm like, God, I don't know if Chuck's got another 4 seasons in him. Not like this. This is why I keep going back to like, I see him dying.
really, truly sorry, but I gotta do it. And it's for you.
You're trying to have me committed.
No, that's the one thing he was...
Temporary emergency guardianship. Oh, you finally got me where you want me.
No, this is exactly what I said he was going to say and think. Yeah, and Jimmy knows it's futile. Chuck's his own worst enemy. I don't see a way out for him, though. Not after this. This is just going to make it all worse.
He's really out to get you, Jimmy, and
Yeah.
I don't know. You're my friend.
Kind of demonstrates, funnily enough, actually, the effect that Jimmy has on people. If Chuck was watching this, he'd be screaming.
I miss the mailroom.
Bet Jimmy does too, a little bit. Oh God, that is a switch up, mate. Ooh, looking sharp, boy. I like the red. Is this going to be the house that we went to in Breaking Bad? The one that Tuco brought them, Jesse and Walt to? Mike, mate, you are so conspicuous there. You're getting very close. To be fair, I say that though. His car, he's changed the colour of his car. Blends in really, really well. Nice little touch.
Are you familiar with the Hippocratic Oath? First, do no harm. It's as though I had an allergy to penicillin, yet you persist on treating my infection with it.
I don't think it quite fits.
Yeah, this is difficult. We're back again. We're back in season 1 in the hospital trying to almost moralize this situation in a certain way. It's funny actually how I'm more on her side now, and it's genuinely not anything to do with what Chuck has been doing. Genuinely not. The reason I say that is because between then and now, I've seen that his condition hasn't improved. The only reason he's been able to go into the office has been like sheer force of will and this spite that he's felt for his brother. That's the only I've been talking about that every single time it happens, and that's always the motivation, and it's never easy. It's always painful for him. It's never like recommended, and he wouldn't be doing that if not for Jimmy and his dislike and his honestly hate for Jimmy. So it's like there's been no change since that moment in season 1 and the fact that he was in hospital. He's now in hospital again and nothing's changed. He's a very ill man. I've referenced that a lot in the last few episodes, and it's not getting better, and something more needs to be done. And it's that question, I guess, isn't it, of like, yeah, but you can't do that against his consent. And I agree with that. The thing that changes it for me is the bump on the head. Take that out of the situation and I'd probably be on Chuck's side, but because of that, I'm like, dude, you've got to take these scans. You've got to have them look at you and make sure that you're at least okay in that regard. And if they can find out something more in the meantime about his condition, perfect. Oof. Oh, I hate this. I hate that stuff. Hey, Kim.
You're doing the right thing.
Yeah, this is the thing. Jimmy's like actions are directly inspired by trying to get him home, which is exactly what Chuck wants. Just Chuck can't stop for a second to see. It just, that awareness, that self-awareness and his wider awareness, and especially in regards to Jimmy, is just blinded. Something I didn't talk about last episode, by the way, was this almost newfound partnership between Kim and Jimmy. The last episode did really show that she has his back. I don't know. This is the thing. There's going to have to be more tests before I come down on that more fully, because that was one example, and as you saw in that conversation last episode, there was a trigger for Kim that Chuck kind of got to, that made her act and say the things that she did. But I like the idea that they both have each other's backs. I really, really like that.
You are the greatest generation. You
Oh, it's his, yeah, of course they
finished.
They forgot.
In your golden years, you need someone looking out for you. A man who says what he does and does what he says. When you need someone to count on.
This reminder of who he is. Yeah, I nearly said before, actually. There was a moment when he was talking to Ernie, that thing that Ernie said of like, you're my friend. And that should have been a nice thing, and it was. I took it as a nice thing, but there was something in my mind that saw Jimmy, actually, I might go back to it, that made me think he went a little bit internal there in a bad way. And I'm seeing the same here. Right, because he's being reminded of who he is as a person. That's what Ernie did. And right here, this ad, this is very Jimmy, right? This identity that Jimmy has settled down on, this thing that he's kind of taken on himself, is the thing that Chuck hates. And through that, you know that Jimmy is kind of assimilating that and connecting it to the why of why Chuck is in hospital and suffering right now. And we've seen that Jimmy is very empathetic towards Chuck, and those two things have got to be warring. And that's what I keep seeing. That's what I just saw there. And I think that's why he's kind of going down a little bit. His head went down, and there's a little bit of sadness and shame there and guilt there, and I think that's where that's coming from. I'm just gonna have a look.
And
Yeah, here. You're my friend.
You're my friend.
And then there was this look.
Thanks.
Yeah, and the way that he delivers that thanks isn't like a genuine thanks. It's kind of like a, should I be thanking you? You lied for me because you liked me, because we're friends. And I think for the first time, maybe Jimmy's being like, wow, I do really have that effect on people, right? Which is exactly what Chuck has been saying. And I don't think it's ever penetrated, but I think Jimmy is seeing it right there. He's seeing it right before him. Ernie is the example for it. And I think Jimmy is kind of coming to that realization. Right? It's not his fault. It's not his fault, and I don't think he should be taking the blame for that. He can't help who he is, right? He can't help that people like him, but that's absolutely the fact that Chuck is in hospital right now, and the fact that I think Jimmy is probably connecting himself and everything he does and who he is as a person with why Chuck is in hospital right now, which I don't think is unfounded. That's absolutely why Chuck is in the hospital right now, right? I'm not going to deny that. That is, I think, rearing its head in Jimmy's mind with a lot of guilt.
A rocket.
Yeah, and it's what we see here too, I think. I think he's going to hate it, and I think he's going to change it. I think he's going to associate this moment with Chuck in the hospital with this ad, unfortunately now. Maybe why we don't recognize this ad more.
A man who says what he does and does what he says. When you need someone...
Also, yeah, sorry, that line, a man who says what he does and does what he says. Not really Jimmy, is it?
Give me Jimmy. Give me Jimmy.
Gimme Jimmy.
Oh, give me Jimmy. Yes, I love that.
A lawyer you can trust.
It's a great ad.
Good, Jimmy. You made a really good commercial.
He hates it now.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Not a meaningful thanks there, was it? He's taking that ad down, dude.
Good news is that physically he's okay.
Good.
Charles had what's called a stress-related syncope. It's basically a panic attack.
Right.
A complication.
Oh. Oh, he's just not responding.
The sedative wore off.
Oh,
This is
God.
something else. We think it's a state of self-induced catatonia.
Man. Is he going to shoot the guy that's tied up to end his pain quickly?
Sit or hit.
Oof, that is accurate, boy.
No, it's on the house.
Dude, you got to make a business somehow. Stop giving him stuff. We've reached a point. Or who's he gonna shoot? Maybe Hector? Okay. I was a little worried for a moment. Like, look, honestly, at this point in the show, I want this man to get better. And I don't just mean his condition. I mean this thing that he has with Jimmy. Like I've talked about before, I genuinely want, with everything that I have, I want this man to get better. I want him to develop some self-awareness. I want him to self-reflect. I want him to process this thing with his brother. I want him to open up and be vulnerable, because that's what he needs and that's what he's not doing. We saw that in the flashback. That's the kind of person he is. He has all these walls up and he needs to bring them down because it's only hurting him. You boys need to have a heart-to-heart right now.
And next order of business, get you the hell out of here.
And Jimmy sat next to him that whole time.
Someplace you can really tuck me away, but good.
Home, Chuck. You're going home.
Yeah, that's all he wants for you, dude.
Your heart's okay, and so's that crack on your head, so that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, fair.
What about the TEG?
T stands for temporary, right?
Yeah, temporary. Hopefully Chuck sees this and he's like, yeah, okay, that's all Jimmy wanted.
I'll make you some tea.
I really want one of them, probably Jimmy. I want Jimmy, because I think Jimmy's the one that's capable of it, to sit down and be like, I want this to stop. This thing between us, I want it to stop. Can we go our separate ways? Something.
You've done your duty. You can go now.
It's not about Come on, Jimmy, tell him.
It came out a bit harsh.
Oh, okay.
I want to be left alone.
Okay.
Can I get Ernie back here? You need someone looking in on you. You gotta eat, right?
Chuck, he cares about you, man.
Feel better, Chuck.
Yeah, there's a certain point you can go to, Jimmy, that you just got to walk away. You have just got to walk away. Is he going to get straight back on, like, driving a dagger into Jimmy now? Okay. Interesting music. Kind of hopeful, not sinister, you know? So I'm curious where this is going. I'm not worried because of the music. Yeah, this is clearly very deep-seated, very deeply rooted in Chuck, right, this thing. And I think it stems back, we saw that flashback to his mum and his mum dying and this vulnerability that he's dealing with himself, you know, all this pain in his life that he's dealing with himself. I'm still curious about Rebecca as well. So I guess at that point, when his mum died, he didn't have Rebecca because the nurse was like, you got anyone that you want us to call? And he was like, no. Yeah. All of this, like, inner turmoil, this almost bottleneck of emotions that he's stoppered up, I think goes back a long way, and it'll take a lot of work to deal with that. But you got to start sometime if you want to be free, if you want to be happy, truly, I think. Yeah, Mike said he was done with Hector, so I can only imagine. Although he did kill the bystander, right? So maybe that's a bit of beef that Mike's got. But I wonder, because of that, whether it's maybe he's going to, yeah, like I say, kill the driver, save him from being tortured. Is that the house? I think that might be the house that Jesse and Walt were at. Maybe at this point he's just like, forget about it, I'll shoot Hector. I do wonder whether actually this is the moment, maybe it is Mike who puts Hector in the wheelchair. I mean, this kind of shot, this kind of way of doing it, I find it difficult to think that they would be able to identify Mike for it. And I did say that. I was like, if he does do it, they sure as hell won't know it was him. Oof, one hell of a shot, though. Here we go. Ooh, the twins. The twins are going to take off after him, though, if that's the case. Here we go. Nacho's going to know it's Mike as well. Yeah, I think he is. I think he's going to, yeah, maybe going to shoot Hector. Here we go. Maybe the only shot he's going to get is somewhere non-lethal. I mean, this is turning into a very hard shot. This is your chance. This is the only chance. Okay, Mike's patient. Oh, no sound. Okay. Interesting. So only Mike hears that? What is this? Yeah, you've got to argue they're drawing him back. Very loud. Right, very on purpose. Alright. He's rumbled. Interesting. Nacho was there. The only other person that would know is Gus. Gus? That's who comes to mind. That is the only other person that might possibly have been looking at Mike, watching Mike. He's the only one meticulous enough, clever enough that comes to mind that would know. Gus. I'm almost certain that's Gus. Very reminiscent of Saul's waiting room.
Get the sunglasses out. It's very bright. You gotta...
Wow, dude. Okay.
Yep, looking sharp.
Okay, RoboCop. Tell you what, mate, you wouldn't want to mess with him, would you?
First, may I get anybody some coffee?
Oh.
We've got to get a receptionist.
Fair.
Howard just called. He says he's been trying to reach you all morning.
Oh?
It's about Chuck. It's important, that's all he'll say.
Interesting. Why do I feel like this is a bit of an attack?
Who was it who wanted coffee?
All of them. Amazing.
This young lady will get you.
No. Don't bring Kim into that. Dude, she's not your receptionist, man. Bit rude.
But I do not want cream.
You'll get what you're given. I'm so sorry. I'll take that back. I apologize.
Jimmy, I have just one question.
Oh God, what's he done?
Are you behind this?
Has he resigned?
What?
Chuck's resigned. This is good. If he's leaving, sorry, but good. And honestly, if we have like next season, for example, where Chuck's not in the picture, interesting. I find that really interesting for him to come back. And like I said, season 3, have it be him and Kim building up this firm and you know, going through issues here and there. And it's funny actually, if Chuck does go out of the picture a little bit and isn't so much here next season, that's brilliant. I didn't verbalize it, but I was going to save it till the end and talk about it a bit there, but I'm getting a little bit tired. Not necessarily even in a bad way, but I need them to mix it up a little bit. I'm getting a little bit tired of this brotherly situation because I do feel like even this episode, I've repeated myself a lot of the things that I've kind of been saying this whole time about them in regard to them. And there's only so much that I can say, you know, at the end of the day, they got to go their separate ways. Or talk about it, talk it through, so that they can get onto the other side of it. I, at this point, kind of actually want Chuck to go out of the series for a little bit, even for a season, or come back maybe towards the end of next season. Okay. I don't know if this is healthy. Yeah, and it'd also be nice to see Howard maybe, you know, at the helm, not just physically, but in name. Give him that chance, you know. There's a lot of potential for a lot of the characters to kind of grow if Chuck is out of the picture. Wow, yeah. Even if he's in next season, you know, all the way through, hit bits and bobs here and there, but not really interacting with Jimmy, Kim, Howard, and then allowing those 3 characters to go off and do their thing and have a career and have their lives for a bit before maybe ushering him back into the main narrative again. That would be such a good move. That would be such a smart move, because I think the brotherly thing, this back and forth, is getting a little stale at this point.
I don't know what I was thinking. I should have done this from the start.
Oh dear, yeah. This is only going to make it worse, I feel like.
What I really need is a proper Faraday cage.
Yeah, because he's going to rely on this more, right? Like, rather than trying to maybe deal with the problem, he's almost enabling the problem by doing this, because he's accepting that it's just part of him. Hey, what do I know? Maybe that is better. Maybe that's the best option. But I don't know. This is Chuck all over, right? It's not him doing the work to actually find a happier outcome for himself in self-reflecting and actually trying to find the root cause of what is really causing this condition. He's actually just catering to the condition by being like, it's this and it's always going to be around. I'm not actually going to maybe try and find the reasons that it exists. I'm just gonna patch it. It's like he's a ship, and instead of getting it refitted properly, he's just putting planks over the holes, and water is just seeping in until suddenly he's gonna end up sinking, right? We keep seeing that. Jimmy, the lifeboat, keeps coming. I know that's not quite how that works, but keeps coming along and bringing him back up for a little bit, you know, emptying the water, getting a bucket, emptying the water. This feels like he's patching the problem as opposed to finding the root cause of the problem and going at it and dealing with it at the source to actually get better, which is consistent with what we've seen of his character. That's why I see this and I'm like, this isn't progress, this is more of the same. And like I was saying, actually, if we do go next season with him maybe more out of those top 3's lives, maybe he can come in here and have a very almost solo story where he comes to terms and maybe works out stuff, or, you know, deals with this condition more fully on his own, works it out for himself, maybe deals with some of his past and comes to realize that. We'll see. There's a lot of fodder for those stories.
Howard tells me you quit HHM.
Yeah, right.
I retired.
Okay.
He should be relieved.
Okay, let's see what Chuck's got to say.
Why would he be relieved? Without you, that whole place goes down the drain.
It's been functioning fine, though, without him for a while. Not to be harsh, but it has been.
You retired, not just from HHM, but the law?
The law and the way that he's been perceiving it. Sorry, Jimmy, but that, I think, is what is kind of killing him here. Part of it.
The law needs you. Because I don't know what you are if you're not a lawyer.
It's true, but maybe he needs to find that out.
How are you going to retire before you get me disbarred?
Okay, it's one way to go about it.
Because you lost Mesa Verde?
I like that Jimmy's really approaching this honestly.
You get mad. Take action. No retirement for you.
Look at this. by the way. Again, coming back to Jimmy's empathy, despite everything that's been done to him. And we've seen the situation reversed, right? What Jimmy wanted at a certain point, right, was to pass the bar, be part of HHM. And Chuck, rather than like enabling him and giving everything that he possibly could to help Jimmy do that, sabotaged him. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Despite everything, Jimmy's like, no, let's get you back on your feet. This is what you want. We you know, let me help you. You don't want this to happen, do you? Come on, you know. Like Jimmy is taking very deep-seated emotional things between the two of them and just proffering them, putting them on the table, and it's not touching him. It's not hurting him because he knows that the goal is to try and get Chuck back on his feet because that's what he sees this as. Yeah, the place that Jimmy's coming from, pure empathy, putting aside his own feelings for Chuck.
So,
Go on, open up, yes.
I can't do the job anymore.
Good, no, this is good, vulnerability. This is what we need to see.
I made a mistake.
What mistake?
1216 instead of 12.
Oh, God.
I screwed it up. I hurt the client.
No, he's going to get Jimmy to admit it. Oh, God, I suddenly see a future in which the only reason Chuck is taking this on himself is to get Jimmy to be like, no, because that's Jimmy's been primed. Very clever. If that's where it's going to go, Jimmy's been primed to be honest about it. I think he's recording. I think Chuck's recording.
And then I blamed you.
Unless it is genuine.
It's this goddamn electricity. It's wearing me down.
Ah.
My mind.
Maybe
It used to be.
this is
It
genuine.
used to work, and now it doesn't anymore.
I don't know. No tears, though. I'm back and forth. This could be genuine.
What if I told you you didn't make a mistake?
I don't think it is. I think Jimmy's being tricked.
It was me.
Let's not forget Kim last episode being like he's a very good lawyer. It'd be a big adversary.
I changed 1261 to 1216. Exactly like you said.
Ah, no, he's admitting everything.
It is insane how you got every detail.
Can we pan to Chuck?
Because that brain of yours is chugging along at 1,000%.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that tugged on Jimmy's heartstrings, the thing that tugged on mine last episode of like, if Chuck actually genuinely started to think he was insane, that's over the line. And I think that's exactly what Chuck used against Jimmy right there, which I don't blame Jimmy in this moment for doing that, right? Any empathetic human would do that. But yeah, let's see.
Are you telling the truth?
I don't know.
I am saying it to make you feel better. Sure shit.
I don't trust Chuck.
It's the truth.
Klick.
Go to such lengths to...
Klick. Oh no, oh God, sorry, the episode's called Klick. I have a feeling at the end of this episode we're gonna hear click or see a click of a recorder or something.
Better. Sure shit. Wouldn't be telling you otherwise. It's the truth.
Oh God.
Kim deserves Mesa Verde, not you, not HHM.
Klick.
She needs it.
Oh God.
I thought you'd just say, oh, I made a mistake and go on with your life like a normal person.
Bit naive, Jimmy.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. I think he's gonna let Jimmy leave though, and then Klick.
So can I tell Howard you're not quitting or rich?
Jimmy, how do you think this is gonna make Chuck okay with you? This isn't the talk that I wanted you to have.
You do realize you just confessed to a felony?
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh.
But you feel better, right?
Oh God, take it a bit more seriously, mate. He's not gonna take that well.
Besides, it's your word against mine.
No, it isn't. I feel like it's not. And I feel like that line means that it's not. Oh God. Oh, this is bad. Yeah. Klick, clickety, click, click, clack. Klick! I knew it's gonna be an old thing to click. Klick! Oh, he called it again. All right, well, I'm not happy that I was right, I'll be honest with you. Well, Chuck, mate. What can I say? Look, I got very theoretical in where I thought maybe the next season was going to go. And I liked that idea for a season. We're not getting it. We're turning it up. We're turning it up for season 3, I think. Yeah, so Klick. I knew it. Jimmy, you fool, sir. The reason Jimmy got suckered there was his empathy. We saw it at the beginning. We started with that. We saw it all the way through, and we saw it there at the end. I can only moralize this stuff and talk about it so much. I honestly think I've kind of talked it to death, this relationship between Jimmy and Chuck, and I haven't changed my mind on any of that particularly. I think I've verbalized everything that I want to say about it. I'm very much more on Jimmy's side. I do also want Chuck to get better. I want him to process this stuff. I want him to bring down his walls. I want to see him be vulnerable. I want him to confront that stuff and get better and let go. This whole thing came about because of Chuck's inability to let Jimmy go. Chuck's obsession with Jimmy not getting the better of him, not getting one up on Chuck. You can argue argue all day that Jimmy is, you know, breaking the law and doing everything illegally. I'm not going to argue with you on that. He absolutely is. But it's like Chuck is doing the exact same thing, but he's being as dastardly and as sinister and as damaging as he possibly can be to Jimmy, while trying his best to stay within the lines and the confines of the law. I've talked about the law and whether it's right or wrong in certain situations, depending, right? Does it actually serve everyone at all times? No, I don't think it does. And I think honestly, in this scenario, this back and forth between the brothers, while one is on one side of the law and one is on the other, I think that almost can be discarded at this point. It doesn't matter, because both of them, to a certain point and to a certain extent, both of them are looking to damage and hurt the other as much as they possibly can. And it's a back and forth. One does it, then the other does it, then the other does it, then the other does it. And while Jimmy uses means outside the law, Chuck is using his means and whatever he can within the confines of the law. And I know that to some people that makes him the good guy and Jimmy the bad guy, but I think toss that out and actually look at the situation, the context, the motivations of both men, and the reason that they're both doing certain things, and the reason that this moment here exists, the reason that Jimmy almost is the person he is because of the things that Chuck has done and the way that he's controlled Jimmy's life. Jimmy is the one, I do feel, that is in the right, and is the one to be sympathized and empathized with, as opposed to Chuck. Because as we've seen, Jimmy is the one that's actually tried to move forward with his life, to move on. Chuck is stagnant in this toxic swamp that just arrays itself around him and spreads to all the people in his life. And it's like, dude, you gotta do something about that. And so it's like, I can talk as much as I want about it, right? But bottom line is, it needs to stop. And this, I've seen now, is only going to propel it forward even stronger, even further. And I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, we'll see how that goes next season. So thank you so much for watching. That was Klick, episode 10 of season 2. That was the finale. We are on season 3 next week. So if you're not subscribed already, click that button down below. Click the bell as well. Thank you as always to my beautiful patrons. Your support is so genuinely appreciated. Thank you so much. Links down below if you want to go have a look over there. Early access for all my videos. And with that said, I will see you very soon. Click on this video right here to keep that hype train going. And other than that, thank you once more. That was Better Call Saul Sunday. That is a wrap on season 2, and I will see you soon.